But it's just too late for me. I'm such a giant dick! Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania! Had to do my best Vincent Kennedy McMahon impersonation on that, but this movie was released this past weekend in 2023 and is directed once again by Peyton Reed, who's behind such films like Bring It On and all of the other Ant-Man movies. And this movie is starring Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Jonathan Majors, Katherine Newton, Katie O'Brien, William Jackson Harper, Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Douglas, and the incomparable Bill Murray. After the events of Avengers Endgame, Scott Lang hasn't had a battle to fight since, so he's tried to fill the time by raising his child and becoming a best-selling author. But when his daughter Cassie has a surprise for the entire family about a signal booster that she and Hank have been building to access the quantum realm, something goes haywire with the machinery, and the entire Ant-Man family gets sucked into the quantum realm. Now everyone is trying to find a way back home, but eventually, after Janet Van Dyne decides to tell us everything, they realize they have to go through the conqueror of the quantum realm, Kang. And I'm gonna do my best to not spoil anything, or at least talk major spoilers, because, you know, this is one of those tentpole blockbuster films that comes out in a year, and I encourage everyone to go see this. Even though I guess this is the second MCU film to get a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes, because, you know, Rotten Tomatoes just decides everything, and people really don't know how the calculation works with it. They just see a number and they go, oh, it's bad, so I'm not gonna go see it. Oh, I definitely encourage people to see this, because I don't think this movie is as bad as people are saying it is. Basically, they're going the whole Sony route when it comes to their Marvel Spider-Man films and their advertising. See, they try to make everyone realize that this is going to be the worst movie of all time, so that when you actually go to see it, your bar of expectations is already so low, so that when you see, like, an okay, decent movie, you go, oh wow, that was actually really good. So now my bar is all the way up here when it was expected to be all the way down here. It's brilliant marketing. Is this movie the worst MCU film? Absolutely not. There are several others that are way worse than this one. In fact, Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, is definitely worse than this movie. Really, if in your MCU ranking you don't have the Incredible Hulk at the bottom of your list, I think it's null and void, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Now, it's not to say this movie is without problems, because it definitely has a lot of issues, in particular with the script. It is very surface level. It is really like, okay, now the characters need to go from point A to point B, and then that's going to be the major conflict of the movie. And then they need to get from here to here, and then that's going to be the major conflict of the movie. And I don't know what we're really working towards, at least in the story aspects. I know why this movie exists. It's to begin Phase 5 and to introduce to the audience the main baddie of this entire phase, and then probably in Phase 6 as well, and that is Kang, played by Jonathan Majors, who, you've probably heard it in other reviews out there, but it's absolutely true that he is the standout and the best part of this entire movie. As an actor, this is one of those dream roles to get, where you are playing the same character but different variants of that character. So in each film, in each TV show that you're in, you get to bring something new and something different to the character every single time. And as an actor, that's just the holy grail of what you want in a role. To have the same role but to be it different, slightly different in each iteration. Oh, that's an actor's dream. So to see how he portrayed Kang in Loki, then coming to this film, it's very inspiring, and I'm very excited to see where Jonathan Majors takes this character farther down the road, wherever Phase 5 leads us. But like my criticism of Ant-Man and the Wasp from 2018, to have a movie setting up something else and to have that be its main purpose is not great. There should be meat to the story. There should be a reason why this film exists to advance character, as opposed to just setting up something else down the road. But Jonathan Majors provides such emotion with this role, even though he's supposed to be this stoic, like, he will wipe out anyone who stands in his way of achieving his ultimate goal. What his ultimate goal is, we still don't know. And I'm curious as to, like, okay, so I'm sure it has something to do with the multiverse, of course. That's this whole saga, this whole Phase 4 through 6 thing. It's the multiverse saga. What we are working towards, though, I really couldn't tell you. I thought we were going to get some clarity, and we get a little tease here, especially in that mid-credit scene, but it's still not spelled out, and I'm fascinated, I'm interested at where we're going. It does make me a little worried, though, when you introduce the concept of a multiverse, if you have different variants of the same character, and let's say one of them dies in a certain movie, only to have a different variant come in, say, in the next movie or in the next TV show. As an audience member, I'm struggling to find why I should care then about this character or these characters. If we're dealing with a multiverse and we're dealing with a whole bunch of different versions of the same character, and if something happens to one of those versions, well, as an audience member, I'm going to say, like, well, the other versions are fine, so I'll just follow along with them. So the stakes of maybe them losing their life or them sacrificing themselves, I mean, it doesn't really mean anything because we have infinite number of other people here. Personally, I think the MCU has a lot of work of introducing the rules of the multiverse, which we don't get in here. We get, again, little teases and little previews as to what's coming, but in terms of, like, what is exactly happening and what we should be going off of, we don't have that. That's not provided with us. What is provided is another attempt at another family film in the MCU, which has been the staple of the Ant-Man franchise so far. These have all been family-friendly films, and that's what they're trying to do here. And the trailers would make you believe that, oh, Cassie is this delinquent, and she's constantly getting arrested, and she's just doing bad things. But no, she's actually a good person. She's getting arrested because she's doing a whole bunch of charity things and trying to stop, like, injustice from happening. So Scott, instead of being angry at her and wanting to get time back, as the trailer would allow you to believe, everything is really just fine between Scott and Cassie. Everything's pretty good. They have moments in here, and I mean very brief moments, that they are diving, or at least trying to dive into emotional connections between the two, but then the typical Marvel thing that they've always done is they kind of just stop that, and then they go for the joke, and they go for the humor, and they move on to the next action set piece. This may be our first inclination of Marvel fatigue. I know people have thrown that phrase out there before this, and it's definitely not true, just with all of the massive box offices that all of these films have had. But I think this may be the first time where people are realizing that they have a formula that they stay with, and they have certain tendencies that the screenwriters and everyone stick to. And I think people are growing tired of that, because this movie is basically all of the other generic Marvel films that we've seen in previous phases. And just like in Ant-Man and the Wasp from 2018, this all could have been avoided with conversation. I mean, hell, even going back to the original Ant-Man, Hank Pym is keeping the secret of what really happened to Janet away from Hope, so we need Scott to do the thing, and then you move on to Ant-Man and the Wasp, and all you had to do, Bill Foster, was go up to Hank Pym and be like, hey, I have this little girl who's phasing in and out quantumly and needs our help, so we don't need to kill Janet. We can actually all team up and rescue her, and everything will be fine. Here, Janet has a whole secret about her time in the quantum realm before, and what happened with Kang back then, but she decides to not divulge it at all, even though Hope and Hank keep prying her and keep saying, hey, what happened here? 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 And Janet's just like, ugh, no, I don't want to remember. Just, let's get out of here. Just, come on. No, I don't know. No. Up until midway through the film when she finally does divulge what happened. Why? Because it was convenient in the plot. She's not tortured, she's not restrained. Really, all that happened was Hank Pym put his arms in these little slug-like creatures that kind of look like penises, and that's how he steered the ship. And then Janet was like, I've had enough, I'm gonna tell you everything now. My husband's hands in a worm monster is enough, so I'm gonna tell you all the truth. Way to go, Janet, you could have prevented this entire thing. Once again, it's all your fault. The action set pieces in here are very standard Marvel stuff. Bunch of green screens. We have people growing and shrinking and growing again. We have the introduction of MODOK that is not the same comic book person for MODOK. So if you are so attached to that character, you're probably going to be very pissed off. Probably the same as if you were pissed off about the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. Personally, though, I like this MODOK. I think MODOK was one of my favorite parts of this movie. He's cheesy, he's corny, he has some great, hilarious moments. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but he was one of my favorite parts. Also, if you're a Power Rangers fan, there is a woman in here dressed up just like Scorpina from Power Rangers from 1993, so in my mind, I made it out to be Scorpina from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, so whenever she was on screen, I had a smile on my face because it brought me back to my childhood. It's a movie that felt very hollow and didn't feel like it had a bunch of stakes. There's a clear purpose here, and that is to introduce Kang to Phase 5 and to the audience to let you know, hey, this is our next baddie. But it doesn't go into depth on anything, what the multiverse is, what we're really building towards, and then when we get down to just simple script and plot and character, everything here is surface level, and everything that happens is really out of convenience for story and plot and things. It's absolutely not the worst Marvel film out there. It's towards the bottom for me, yes, but it's not the worst. There are so many other things that anger me so much more. I went into this, again, with my expectations so low that what I saw was like, oh, this was actually okay and decent. I can live with myself after watching this. I'm gonna give Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania 2 out of 5 Blu-rays. I've had better. So guys, have you seen Quantumania yet? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you all the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.